You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
Seven Dr. Dolly 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I was playing around with ChatGTP yesterday, and so I had ChatGTP make me a patriotic picture as we are going into the 4th of July festivities and America's 250th birthday. And again, ChatGTP gave me big boobs. I don't the picture I give it of me, you don't see the bust. I don't know how, unless it knows who I am. But picture shows big boobs. But they don't have to. And I even said, make me look skinny. And still, it doesn't matter. It's very boob focused. But I do like how it looks with the, fireworks in the background and the red, white, and blue. And on the shirt, I have it say America the Beautiful. It's a cute picture. And so I put it out there on social media. And of course you have some people commenting or messaging or sharing it or whatever with negativity. Like they're sad about America turning 250. Are they sad because Kamala Harris didn't win? Yeah, are you really sad? I mean, we are in the best country in the world. I mean, we are. Look at all these Europeans coming and people from all over the world coming for the World Cup. I mean, we are in America. This is, and people are mourning our birthday. Really? And they're saying, yeah, but it's more divided than it's ever been. Back in 1976, I think Gerald Ford was still president because the 76 election ended in late 76, and that's when Jimmy Carter won. And President Ford, I think, had faced assassination attempts. There was still kind of fallout and divide from the Vietnam War. The draft had ended in 73, but there were still people kind of grumpy about what happened with the Vietnam War in the 70s. And, there was, a lot of issues. But in 1976, people still celebrated. I was really, really young, but I just remember American flags and ribbons and just decoration everywhere. And people were still proud, to be American. I think they, and somebody could say, yeah, but Dr. Dahlia, they didn't, people don't realize how good they have it. Yes, they do, because they could go online and see. When you see Ukrainian men still being bombarded by Russian attacks and being killed, when you see what happened with Israelis on a kibbutz or a peace rally, getting attacked, raped, murdered, when you see what happens in other countries, we have now more access to see what's going on. Christians being slaughtered in Nigeria, Ebola, North Korea. We could see what's going on in other countries. And people still think America is not worth celebrating. It's frightening. I think Joy Reid says that Black Americans don't celebrate July 4th. We have had a very disgusting history as it pertains to slavery. And we have made huge mistakes. And thank God we ended slavery. Sadly, it had to take a civil war to do it. But finally, Abraham Lincoln got, the Emancipation Proclamation. We now have Juneteenth that commemorates, the freedom of slaves, although there was still, leading up to the 60s and still, systemic racism and segregation, etc. But when you celebrate America's birthday, you're not celebrating what happened back in the early 1800s when women couldn't vote and people were you're not celebrating that. You're celebrating that we have lasted here today We have freedoms that other people don't. We have provided opportunity to men, women, Latinos, but we've had black president. We've had a black and Jamaican vice president. We've had women what we've been able to do, the diseases we've been able to cure. There's so many things that we celebrate, but to me, what I celebrate is I honor those that sacrificed for us. To me, 4th of July isn't just about fireworks. It's that people sacrificed for me to have my freedom, for me to be able to have my hair and head uncovered, for me to be able to be a physician, for me to be able to be on the radio. And so when I hear that people are not going to be celebrating, that is just a kick in the pants to every man, woman, and family who served or sacrificed for this country. Now, the excuse that people are making as it pertains to America 250 is that it's politicized, that this is just feeding Trump's ego. And so people want to show a protest to Trump, but we'll see, now you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. Look, Trump will be present, and he will be wanting to unite America because he is the current president. And trying to make America safe again, healthy again, strong again, for his administration is very bipartisan. And it helps everybody. I don't like it when we have a political candidate that says, well, we're going to screw over the police, we're going to screw over the teachers, we're going to screw over the CEOs, we're going to screw over. No. If you are going to be in office, you're representing everybody. We're not discriminating against anyone. And yes, there are laws. There's immigration laws. Any other country. You know, if I cannot utilize and vote and, I'll have risk of deportation in other countries. Yet in America, we're not allowed to do what other countries do in terms of protecting our border. So I know people want to, do this to protest Trump, but really, this is America's birthday. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years, stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
back on the Dr. Dolly Show. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. So, big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So, a major study has found that if you switch from cigarettes to vaping, there's a higher risk of some eye diseases. Now, I'm not saying to go back to cigarettes by any means, but a massive nationwide study published in the American Journal of Ophthalmology suggests that the smokeless alternatives could increase the risk of serious eye diseases compared to just, quitting cold turkey. Researchers from Korea University College of Medicine in Seoul, South Korea, analyzed health data from a group of 180,000 adults from the Korean National Health Insurance Service. All participants had smoked traditional cigarettes between 2011 and 2012, but they quit smoking by 2008 or 2019. Now, to ensure a fair comparison, they paired up participants who had similar backgrounds, age, gender, medical history, existing health conditions, lifestyle habits, etc. And they say this process narrowed down the participants to about 32,300, divided them into two categories: complete quitters, who stopped using all nicotine products, this according to Fox News, and those who used vapes or smokeless nicotine products to quit. The researchers then followed these participants for an average of 4.6 years to see if they developed eye conditions like cataracts, glaucoma, age-related macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy, other focus-related eyesight disorders. And they said over the tracking period, the group experienced a total of 6,300 major eye disease events. People who quit nicotine entirely had the lowest disease rate in the study. That makes sense? At 41.1 cases per 1,000 person years. That basically is like the number of people in the study and how long they were followed. In comparison, the rate rose to 44 cases for individuals who use smokeless alternatives. Now, that is that is still statistically significant. Not a big bump up, but still a big bump. So they concluded that the data showed that rather than quitting nicotine completely, saying, I'm done, I'm not putting any of this in my body, the alternative nicotine products carried a 7% increased risk of serious eye diseases. Most notably, which eye disease? They said 24% had a higher risk of developing diabetic retinopathy. Now, diabetic retinopathy is where the retina, which is the back of the eye that collects the images and sends signals to the optic nerve, and then the brain can process them. In diabetic retinopathy, oftentimes blood vessels will burst. The blood vessels, as we spoke about with diabetes, people are more sugary. And so the body tries to absorb more water, make you more thirsty. These blood vessels can pop. Also, blood vessels full of sugar aren't very healthy. And diabetic retinopathy can cause permanent blindness if not addressed early. They say those who ditch cigarettes for vapes had also a 7% higher risk of developing refractive and accommodation disorders, affecting the eye's ability to focus clearly, meaning they probably needed glasses sooner. And so the idea that vaping is harmless, we've never purported that. We've never suggested that. It looked at health insurance data. So the study is limited. This is why, again, RFK Jr. and the HHS is being a lot more strict of what studies get out and what studies they back and support, especially as it pertains to COVID and other things, COVID vaccine. Because somebody could read this going, okay, so vaping will mess up my eyes. That's not what the study actually proved. They say that a limitation was they didn't actually look at people who vape and see what it did to the eyes. The study looked back retrospectively at health insurance data. So they could use a computer to analyze, well, these people who vaped ended up having these medical conditions and got glasses sooner and had this. So that it's still scientific, but it doesn't necessarily say cause and effect. So they also said that the study relied on people filling out questionnaires. about their smoking and vaping habits. That could include memory lapses, people underreporting. You could have somebody whose wife was sitting next to them, and they said, oh, no, I didn't vape. I just quit smoking. My wife told me to quit smoking, and I do everything she tells me. Ah, good boy. See, he's a good boy. I love my hubby. Meanwhile, yeah, they were doing Zyn pouches or smokeless tobacco or chew or something. So that also is something that could lend to study limitation. But what we have here is now an epidemic of people addicted to nicotine. I have seen so many Gen Zs where they are just popping Zyn pouches and they just can't get off nicotine, and they never smoked. They weren't smokers. We taught these kids that smoking is bad. We were so effective at teaching young kids that smoking is bad that they didn't really get the message that it's nicotine that's also bad. So they started using nicotine products to get that same buzz or alertness or stimulant effect. And we have millions of people addicted to nicotine. When somebody's addicted to smoking, it's not that they love the flavor, the taste, it's the nicotine. In fact, I know somebody who he's actually middle-aged, and he got so addicted to nicotine that when he and his buddies are smoking cigars, he has to stop and get a real cigarette because it's just not enough. I'm like, well, what is going to happen to your lungs? Not to mention, do we know if any of these little Zyn pouches or these nicotine pouches are safe on the buccal mucosa and the mouth lining and the gums and the teeth? So, why? Why do we have people? Why can't people just go about their lives? Well, one issue is they don't want to gain weight. When we stopped smoking, we spurred a huge obesity epidemic. And people want to curb their hunger. And they can't afford these GLP-1s that may not give you permanent weight loss. So when they get hungry, rather than putting a cigarette in their mouth, they're going for some of these Zyn pouches or nicotine vapes or, e-cigs. Another thing is we have a stimulant issue where people need to feel awake. Look at Red Bull and Monster and Rocket and these caffeine drinks. More people are buying those than regular soda pop because they're not getting the caffeine kick like they can with energy drinks. And energy drinks are expensive. They're small. Some of them are very tasty. I remember I was at an Air Force air show, and me and my buddy was there, and I'm like, I got to get something to drink. I'm really thirsty. So there was, he was getting water, and he said, go get some sodas or whatever. So I went to the stand. I got some soda, and it looked really good and tasty. So I downed the whole can. He downed the whole can. And then we didn't realize it was like a new product. I don't even know if it's still out on the, but it was like an energy drink. Oh my God, I could have gone into AFib, atrial fibrillation. I mean, it just buzzed me. I'm running all over Nellis Air Force Base and, go, yeah. I mean, I was just, but they make these drinks tastier than water and Gatorade. Not the healthiest thing to do on a hot, day at an air show. But people aren't sleeping well. They're obese. They're getting sleep apnea. So they're waking up in the middle of the night and then again, they're sleeping the next day. They're eating a lot of carbs. So that makes them tired. They're not eating as healthy. They're not exercising as much. They're sitting more. So we have a chronic fatigue epidemic. We have a stimulant addiction epidemic. We have a nicotine addiction epidemic. We need to get our acts together. Now, I'm not saying we were healthier when all we did was smoke. Trust me, smoking is bad. What these cigarettes did to our hearts, to our vessels, to our brains, for cancer risk, absolutely horrifying. But when patients were coming up to me in the early 2000s saying, I want nicotine patches or I want to do this, I want to do this, I'm like, okay, we'll work with you, but it's got to be very temporary. I don't want you, using so many nicotine patches that you become even more addicted to nicotine. And with vaping also, I'm like, I'm not going to say vaping is safer. If you're going to vape, you got to make sure it's a very finite, short period of time. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
Back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So all eyes are on the Save America Act and why it hasn't passed. House passed it. House did their part, but Senate was, they couldn't get enough votes. And Trump has been pretty upset because the Save America Act has to do with mail-in ballots where, like other countries, you actually have to apply for one. It just doesn't by default get sent out. You can apply for one if you have a disability, are going to be out of the country. You'll have certain reasons and justifications for it, and then you could get your mail-in ballot. It has a bunch of other things that help voter ID, etc. And so even though bipartisanly it's pretty popular among the country, in Congress, no, because there's suspicious why one side would not want to increase our integrity of our elections. And so people are a little nervous that might not go through. You need an ID to rent a car, to get into a hotel room. You need ID to get on an airplane, but you don't need an ID to vote. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, Congress goes on break officially Monday, but from what we understand, I think the Senate already left. Nobody seems to work on Fridays anymore. I don't get that. I do. But my producer does. Daniel does. I mean, we're working on, but Congress already gone. The July 4th break is supposed to go from June 29th to July 10th. And then they get another break, the August recess. The August recess runs from August 10th to September 11th. So the House and Senate may operate on different voting and work week calendars throughout the year, but for the most part, when one's on, the other one usually is on vacation too. Which means if the SAVE Act is going to get passed, probably needs to get passed in between those few weeks between the July 4th break when they return on July 10th and the August 10th next recess. Because after September 11th, now you're going into early, we're going to be coming into the time period before early voting and all the other issues. Monday, we're supposed to be getting a Supreme Court ruling unless the Supreme Court decides to kick the can down the road. But part of this docket has to do with mail-in ballots and Election Day. Does Election Day in the Constitution mean this is the day we elect? Or does it mean you could have a mail-in ballot, get it postmarked, it take over 5 days to get to where it needs to go, and then in California, like we've seen time and time again, they could take weeks to count these said late arriving mail-in ballots. Supreme Court is going to rule if Election Day is Election Day. And I know everybody's panicking. Oh my gosh, what are the implications of this? Well, then if we are going to do mail-in ballots, and then you will, I guess, mail out the mail-in ballots maybe 5 days sooner. It's not the biggest deal. We mail them out sooner. Why would anybody have a problem with Election Day, us figuring out who won on Election Day? It's and somebody can say, well, Dr. Dahlia, it doesn't matter then. Because if somebody is going to bring in mail-in ballots, they could do it earlier or late. If there's going to be cheating, trust me, there's so many different ways that people could cheat. But the big difference and why Election Day needs to be Election Day is because what we keep seeing in California, which might be all legitimate, where a Republican appears to be in the lead on Election Day, and then weeks later, they're not. We don't want our country to think that there's shenanigans. We don't want the country to feel we don't have election integrity, because if that's the case, we lose our democracy. So if somebody is in the lead on Election Day, like we saw with certain Republican House congressional districts last election, and then we're heading close to Christmas, and they go, oh, actually they lost. It was too close to call, and now it looks like they lost to the Democrat. Even though maybe all of those ballot countings, let's just benefit of the doubt. Let's say it was all legit. It doesn't look legit to anybody. That it took almost 4 weeks to count these mail-in ballots. So, if either mail-in ballots should be the far and few between like they always were, and you could apply for one, and then send it in by a certain date. There's rules. And if you don't send it in by a certain date, there's still plenty of time now for you to decide to go and vote or get another mail-in ballot or whatever, or you have time to still go and vote. So it actually can still be extremely safe and still, much more properly done if you shift the time where everything has to be in by Election Day. Just very simple. Most people don't even know when Election Day is. So tell them, mail-in ballots, it's even on the mail-in ballot in big bold letters. This has got to be postmarked by this date. Yeah, but Election Day, it has to be postmarked by Election Day. If you want your mail-in ballot to count and you want it in by Election Day, you have to send them early, because that's not you going to vote. So what happens with the Save America Act? What's where are we? Well, very interestingly, if the Senate doesn't get enough votes, and I know there's been a lot of back and forth where they should end the filibuster and just try to do narrow majority, and I know the Senate is worried about that, because if they do lose control, now we're going to have court packing and DC becoming its own state, and a lot of other manipulation of things by Democrats. So you really want the checks and balances. But what Speaker Mike Johnson apparently could do is push it through the House by another, I think, through reconciliation. So the Hill reports that Speaker Johnson said in a Wednesday press briefing that he spoke to Trump about how reconciliation, a special process in which Republicans could bypass the filibuster in the Senate, would be the only way to get it passed. But it's not that I believe the Senate breaks the filibuster. It's that Republicans can add it to a budget. Now, I know there's a little bit of back and forth, but Johnson says we're willing to invest heavily in that, and House Republicans will put together a reconciliation bill, Reconciliation 3.0, that will have the SAFE Act in it. Says we believe that if you create a grant program that ties it to reconciling the budget, and you allow blue states, if they come to their senses, they want to avail themselves of election integrity proposals on ideas and policies, they could draw down from a federal fund and use those funds. So, so it looks like there is a way for Save America Act, although I don't think that's ideal, but we shouldn't be this divided on that, especially when the majority of Americans have voted that they agree with voter ID. Why? Because many Americans have been told that they voted when they didn't. My friend's son, who wanted to vote in Texas, said, "You can't vote today." He's like, "Why not?" "Because you voted in Colorado." He's like, "I've never been to Colorado." I mean, we have got to, if people don't feel like they could vote or they could get their vote in or that somebody can grab their mail-in ballot, that's frightening. I don't want somebody taking my mail-in ballot, writing all over them, and people thinking it's me. That's pretty private stuff. And only 2 people in my family get mail-in ballots of us 4. I can't explain it. I don't know where the other 2 go. So the system is broken. The system is wrong. We need to fix it. And for any Democrat who wants to vote against election integrity type measures, that could later hurt them if there's cheaters on the Republican side. So I think we all have skin in the game on this one. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
Hi, everyone. Super Bowl champ Vernon Davis here from Legal Help Center. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up, because we have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. You can find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. The call is free, the consultation is free, and you can speak with a live agent right now. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident of any kind, call now to find out if you have a case and how much you could potentially get.
Thanks, Vernon. You heard it, folks. If you've been injured, call and find out how much you qualify for. Call 800-679-0800. That's 800-679-0800. 800-679-0800. Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states. Not available in California.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
So I live in the West Coast. Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show. So when we have a game that starts at 7 p.m. Pacific time, I get to watch it. So while East Coast was like, I need to go to bed, I don't know if I'm going to watch USA kick Turkey A's butt. You missed. Turkey A won. I think we lost 3-2. And it was not ideal. But then on the other end, USA is advancing. We already lead Group D. So we didn't really need to push our players too much, especially since we want to have some longevity. But we were surprised that Turkey A did that well, and that was, I guess, their only win, their first win. But it was nice because USA, I mean, we scored within the first, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes of the game. So it was really, really nice. So for those of you that were like, oh, I'm going to watch, the first goal and then go to bed, you woke up to hear that we lost. But we are still moving on. I think we play Bosnia and Herzegovina on July 1st. And we are again favored in that one. Favored what, positive 300? I'm not even going to put a bet because I'd have to bet a lot just to get like $10. So, but we're probably going to win that one on July 1. We're the round of 32. Other leaders in their groups, we're seeing Mexico lead Group A, Switzerland Group B, Brazil Group C, Germany Group E, Netherlands Group F, Egypt Group G, Spain Group H, France Group I. France and Norway actually both got 6 points. So they're actually kind of neck and neck. Argentina, of course, leading Group J, Colombia Group K, England Group L. Gosh, we got a lot of teams. I think this is the most number of teams that we've had in the World Cup, and it's been amazing. Interestingly, somebody was saying, what happened to SoFi Stadium? The game last night was at SoFi Stadium. They called it Los Angeles Stadium because I believe, and you guys might know more about this than I do, is there's marketing, shall we say, contracts, and if for FIFA to call it SoFi Stadium, I believe SoFi might have had to market that. And so if they are not a part of that sort of marketing or to pay for that part, from what I understand, many of the logos and, you would think, well, if the stadium, SoFi Stadium is SoFi Stadium. But with FIFA, I think there's some rules about who gets advertised and promoted. So they called it LA Stadium, but that's where it was played. And that's, one of the, just like the Seattle Seahawks Stadium they're using, I forget which, that's what that's called. But basically you'll hear the commentator say, we're in Seattle, or we're in Kansas City, or we're in, Mexico City. Interestingly, I didn't know about this. Apparently a lot of people knew this. I didn't. The Japanese clean up after themselves. So when Japan was playing at the World Cup, you saw, I think it was between Japan and Netherlands. I had money on Japan. I was happy about that. The fans, because Japan was wearing blue, the fans were waving these blue trash bags. And you're like, well, gosh, that's kind of a lot of fanfare, and you're seeing a lot of color with that. But I didn't realize why they do that. So they wave the bag, and then at halftime, and then at the end of the game, they clean. So plastic cups and food containers and trash. Stadium employees usually have to clean up that mess. I remember a few years back, I posted a picture of looking at one of the dugouts of an MLB game. And I mean, it looked like one of my kids' rooms in high school. I mean, there was just everywhere. And you're like, they were only there a couple hours. How did they make that much of a mess? So, I mean, these apparently just throwing things on the ground because the dugout is so small it's not like anybody will get up and go to a garbage. They'll just throw it on the ground or whatever. And it's a mess. But apparently for the Japanese culture, they don't leave a mess. They're very courteous. So you see them collecting trash. They bring the blue bags. They use them to celebrate in the match. And then they use them as trash bags. So I heard some of them cleaned up a little bit during halftime. But if you want to save your bag, then you waited till the end unless you had another bag. So a fan said that's the culture. It's respect for everything. Respect for the players, supporters, and also for the stadium. We are honored to be here, so we don't want to make a mess and then leave it. I think that's the reason why we're doing it. Now, even the Japan national team, the Samurai Blue, cleaned up the locker room. They stacked the chairs. They collected trash. Towels were left neatly folded in the center of the room. The pink and orange bibs that players and coaches wore to indicate their stadium clearance, stacked at the door. I mean, this is kind of nice. I wish Americans would do that. Because you go to another country and they're like, oh man, these Americans are just going to make a mess. They're just going to whatever. Nobody's going to want you. Now people are going to welcome Japan. Maybe we'll have you in 2 different locker rooms so that you clean up both rooms. Apparently this was identified when they played their first match back in 1998. Japanese soccer fans collected trash following the World Cup games in France. And ever since it's a part of the culture. I don't think, anybody's telling them to go and do it. But the Japanese term for it is atarame. It translates to natural, reasonable, obvious, as well as usual, common, ordinary, commonplace, the norm. I wonder if they do that in Japan too, where they clean up after themselves. See, I do. If I'm at a movie theater, now I'm making sure, I think maybe one time I might have left the popcorn in case somebody wanted to eat it. But if I'm at a movie theater, I will take my drink or popcorn with me. Napkins. I won't leave it for anybody. And I also do that when I go to Allegiant Stadium for a game or the hockey game. I take my garbage and throw it out. This is something everybody should be doing. So Japan did good in this respect. So pretty interesting. Very, very sadly, though, we're looking at Venezuela and what's happening over there. The death toll from the Venezuelan earthquakes has risen now to 920. The official death toll from 2 earthquakes that flattened parts of Caracas and surrounding areas is now up to 920, according to lawmaker Jorge Rodriguez, president of the National Assembly. The government has estimated that hundreds of people are still trapped and missing nearly 2 days after the magnitude 7.2 and 7.5 tremors struck about 100 miles west of Caracas. There is a website, according to Reuters, that is set up to take reports of people still unaccounted for. Over 50,000 people still missing from what from those who actually were able to report. We're assuming even more. The UN's aid chief also thinks we're looking at tens of thousands of people. Foreign rescue teams and aid began arriving on Friday. Desperate Venezuelans and a growing number of foreign volunteers are trying to find survivors trapped under rubble before it's too late. Rodriguez says 871 international rescue workers were in the country on Friday afternoon from Mexico, El Salvador, Spain. Marco Rubio, President Donald Trump, had said they are going to send aid and help. The U.S. Geological Survey has predicted a high potential for more than 10,000 deaths. And this could be one of the deadliest earthquakes in Latin America in the last century. For those of you that want to help, I would definitely reach out, go to the Red Cross website. One thing you could also do if you don't have money or things to send is donate blood here, because Red Cross or Vitalant will ship blood to areas in need, and then our local areas will need blood. So if you could donate blood, or host a drive. It doesn't cost you any money. You just organize a drive at work. That could be very, very life-saving and still help the cause. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.